You know, there's a moment that happens in the life of almost every person who has ever loved someone deeply and freely, a moment that nobody really prepares you for, that no one sits you down and walks you through, that doesn't come with a manual or a roadmap or even a warning. It's the moment when the two most powerful forces in your life, the family that made you and the love that is remaking you, look at each other across a room and don't recognize each other. The moment when the people who have known you the longest look at the person you've chosen and see something they cannot accept. And you are standing in the middle of it, belonging fully to both sides, being claimed by both sides, and somehow feeling like you belong to neither. Like you are a bridge stretched between two shores that are moving in opposite directions, and the stretching is tearing something in you that you don't know how to name. That moment, that's where I am. That's the truth I'm living inside, and I'm done carrying it in silence. My parents don't approve of her, and I still love her. And those two facts exist simultaneously inside me like two weather systems occupying the same sky, each one real, each one powerful, each one with its own logic and its own demands, and the storm that happens where they meet, that's my daily life. That's what I wake up to every morning and carry through every day and bring to bed with me every night. And I want to talk about it today, not because I have resolved it, not because I have found the clean answer that makes everyone happy and wraps this up with a bow, but because I think a great many of you are living inside some version of this exact storm. And I think the loneliness of living inside it without being able to speak it out loud is sometimes worse than the storm itself. So let me speak it, all of it, without apology, without performance, and without softening the edges to make it more comfortable for anyone. Let me start with her, because she deserves to be started with. She deserves to be the first thing I talk about, not the complication I get to after I've addressed everything else, not the variable in someone else's equation, not the problem to be solved or the choice to be justified. She is the beginning of this story, and she is the center of it, and everything else, every conflict, every difficult conversation, every sleepless night, and fractured family dinner radiates outward from who she is. So let me tell you who she is. She is honest, not politely honest, not strategically honest, not the kind of honest that calculates what truth is safe to tell and tells only that. She is the kind of honest that is almost startling when you first encounter it. The kind that makes you realize how accustomed you've become to people managing what they show you. She says what she means. She means what she says. She doesn't perform warmth. She doesn't feel or agreement. She doesn't hold. And she doesn't apologize for the lack of performance. In a world that has made an art form of careful presentation, of curated selves and managed impressions, she just stands there being entirely herself, and it is one of the most disarming and beautiful things I have ever encountered in another human being. She is kind in the specific, unglamorous way that real kindness actually operates, not in grand gestures, not in the moments that can be witnessed and admired, but in the small, private, unrewarded ones. The way she notices when someone in a room is on the outside of a conversation and quietly creates a door for them to come in. The way she remembers the details, the things people mention once, casually, assuming no one is really tracking, and brings them back weeks later with the kind of care that says, I heard you, I was paying attention, you mattered enough for me to hold on to this. That's not a skill you can perform, that's a character. That's who someone is at the level where pretending stops. She challenges me, not combatively, not as a sport, not with the particular pleasure that some people take in dismantling what you think you know. She challenges me the way a high standard challenges you, by existing, by being so consistently thoughtful, so genuinely engaged with the world and its ideas and its people, that being around her raises what I expect from myself. She has made me a better thinker, a better listener, a more honest person. She has held up a mirror that reflects not what I am at my most defended and polished, but what I could be at my most open and real. And what I could be, reflected back through her belief in me, is someone I actually want to become. She loves me. She loves me in the full, informed way not the way that falls for the version of a person they've assembled from the parts you allow to be seen, but the way that is seen, the difficult parts, the uneven parts, the parts you'd edit out if you could, and has said yes to all of it. That kind of love is not common. I know how not common it is. I have lived enough of life to know that being truly seen and truly chosen is not something that happens easily or often, and treating it as ordinary is one of the great mistakes a person can make. So that's her. That's who she is. And now let me tell you about my parents. My parents are not villains. I want to say that clearly and without ambiguity, because this would be a much simpler thing to navigate if they were. If disapproval came from cruelty or from selfishness or from some fundamental failure of character, you'd know how to respond to it. You'd know where to put it. You'd have the moral clarity that makes hard decisions navigable. But my parents are not cruel. They are not selfish in the small, obvious ways. They are people who love me deeply, consistently, with a devotion that has been the ground beneath my feet for as long as I can remember. They showed up for me. They sacrificed for me. Giving me a better one, and the weight of that, the reality of that love, is something I carry with genuine gratitude, but they don't approve of her. And the reasons they give, some of them, I understand, even when I disagree. Some of them come from real places, from their culture, from their history, from the way their own lives taught them what safety looks like, and what risk looks like, and which category this falls into from where they're standing. Some of it is fear, real fear, not the performed concern that is really just control wearing a caring face, but actual fear, the fear that parents carry for their children, the fear that never fully goes away no matter how old you get. The fear that wants to protect you from everything, including the things that might be good for you if they feel uncertain. I understand that fear. I was made by people who have it. I can trace it in myself, but understanding where something comes from does not make it right. And understanding my parents' perspective does not mean accepting the conclusion they've drawn from it. And this is where the terrain becomes truly difficult, because the culture I come from, and maybe many of you come from something similar, does not always make a clean distinction between the two. In many families and many traditions, understanding your parents' perspective and deferring to your parents' judgment are treated as the same thing. To say, I hear you, I love you, I respect where this comes from, and I disagree, that is read not as the mature, loving position it actually is, but as a fundamental act of disrespect, as a betrayal, as proof that the love they gave was not returned in the right denomination. And that framing that false equivalence between understanding and obeying is one of the cruelest traps a family can lay for its children, because it puts love against love. It says you must choose which love is real, as if love were a finite resource, as if loving her fully necessarily diminishes the love I have for them, as if the heart has a quota, and adding her to it means subtracting them. And that is simply, demonstrably, fundamentally not true. Love is not zero-sum. The heart does not have a budget. My love for her does not eat my love for my parents. My love for my parents does not require the sacrifice of her. These things can coexist. They must coexist, because they are both real and neither one is going away. But here I am in the middle of a dynamic that is asking me to behave as though they can't. Let me talk about what this costs. Because I think people on the outside of this situation, people who have not lived inside the specific gravity of parental disapproval, sometimes underestimate what it takes from you. They see it as a simple problem with a clear solution. Choose love, they say, as though choice in this context is uncomplicated. Follow your heart, as though the heart is a reliable compass that doesn't have to reckon with guilt, with loyalty, with the particular weight of owing your existence to people who are asking you to make a different decision. It is not simple. It is not clean. And anyone who tells you it is has either never faced it or has forgotten what it actually felt like. It costs you sleep. It costs you the particular piece of a life where the people you love are also loving each other, and that peace, when it's gone, leaves a silence that is harder than any noise. It costs you holidays. God, it costs you the holidays, those designated moments of togetherness that are supposed to be about warmth and belonging and the comfort of your people, which become instead logistical negotiations and careful omissions and the performance of a happiness you aren't fully feeling because half of the people who make your life whole are in different rooms that cannot be combined without someone's world cracking. It costs you ease. Every relationship has a natural arc, a natural progression, the meeting of worlds that happens when two people become serious, the integration of lives and families that is part of what partnership actually means at the deepest level. When that integration is blocked, when the family that is supposed to open its arms keeps its doors shut, the relationship is forced to grow in conditions it wasn't designed for, like a plant being asked to grow without certain kinds of light. It can happen. It does happen, but it takes more. It requires more deliberate tending, more conscious effort to compensate for what the normal conditions would provide naturally, and it costs you a certain kind of innocence. Once you have stood at this crossroads, once you have been forced to consciously choose between two loves, to make that choice explicitly rather than just living inside it, the way people whose families approve of their partners get to do, once you have been there, something about how you understand love changes. It becomes something you know the price of, and knowing the price of. Something does that complicated, bittersweet thing to it. It deepens your appreciation and it deepens your awareness of how much it could be lost, simultaneously, in a way that is both gift and burden. I want to address something. I want to address it directly because I think it needs to be said, and I think a lot of you have been waiting for someone to say it. The question that sits underneath every version of this situation, the one that doesn't always get asked out loud, but is always in the room. Is my happiness my responsibility, or is it my obligation to arrange my personal life around my parents' comfort? And I want to be careful here, because I know this is a question with cultural dimensions that vary enormously, with family dynamics that are individual and complex, with histories and contexts that I cannot speak to universally. So I'm only speaking to what I know. I'm only speaking from where I stand, in the life I have lived, with the understanding I have built through decades of making mistakes and surviving them and trying to learn what they were teaching. Here is what I believe. I believe that honoring your parents, genuinely honoring them, not performing honor while hollowing it out, means showing up as your truest self. It means bringing them the person you actually are, not the person it would be convenient for them to have raised. It means trusting that the love between you is strong enough to hold honest disagreement, strong enough to survive the revelation that you see something differently than they do, strong enough to remain intact even when you don't make the choice they would have made for you. Real honor is not obedience. Real honor is respect for them, for the love they gave, for the sacrifice they made, combined with the integrity to remain yourself within that respect, to bend without breaking, to hear without surrendering, to love them fully while also being honest about who you are and what you need. And what I need is her. I'm not choosing her instead of my parents. I refuse that framing. I refuse to participate in a story where love is a competition with a winner and a loser, where my being with her is a verdict against them. That is not the story I am living. The story I am living is harder and more complicated and ultimately, I believe, more hopeful than that. It is the story of a person who loves his parents and loves a woman and is committed stubbornly, sometimes painfully, always deliberately, committed to finding a way to hold both of those truths without amputating either one. Will that be easy? Number. Has it been easy? Absolutely not. There have been conversations that left me sitting alone in a room afterward, trying to remember how to breathe. There have been silences from people I love that had the weight of walls. There have been moments where the gap between where I am and where everyone around me wants me to be felt so wide that I genuinely could not see how it would ever keep close. But I've also been here before. Not in this exact shape. Life never repeats its lessons in identical form, but in the essential structure of it. I've been in the place where the path forward required disappointing people I loved, where doing the right thing, the true thing, the thing that honored who I actually was, came with a cost that I had not budgeted for and could not fully afford but paid anyway. And what I know from those experiences, what I know with the particular certainty that only lived experience provides is that the people who really love you come around. Not always quickly, not always without pain, not always in the way you hoped or on the timeline you needed, but love, genuine love, the kind that is rooted in something real rather than an expectation and control. That love finds its way to acceptance. It finds its way back to you, not to who it wanted you to be, but to who you are. And in the meantime, while it's finding its way, you keep going. You don't stop. You don't put your life on pause, waiting for every relevant party to reach alignment before you allow yourself to live it. You walk forward. You hold the complexity. You love your parents and you love her, and you hold the tension of both with as much grace as you can manage. And on the days when your grace runs out, you start again the next morning. I want to say something to her directly because she has earned the right to hear it said plainly. She has carried something in this situation that I am aware of and that I want to acknowledge. She has been on the receiving end of a kind of rejection that has nothing to do with who she is and everything to do with who she isn't from. Isn't familiar. Isn't familiar. Isn't what was expected. And that kind of rejection, the kind that isn't about you at all but lands on you anyway, is one of the harder things to absorb without letting it become a story you tell about your own worth. I need you to know that her worth is not determined by my parents' approval. Her worth was settled before they ever formed an opinion. It is settled in who she is and how she moves through the world, in the character that no one's acceptance or withholding of acceptance can touch. And I need her to know that I see her in the fullness of what this situation asks of her, in the patience it requires, and the strength it demands, and the love it takes to stay in something that is not yet fully welcoming of you. I see all of it. I see how much it costs. Her too. And I am not taking it for granted, not for a single day. To everyone watching who is living inside this, who is standing at that same crossroads, loving someone your family cannot yet see the way you see them, I want to say this. You are not alone. This is one of the oldest human stories there is. It has been lived in every culture, in every era, by people whose only offense was loving someone outside the boundaries their family had drawn. And across all of those stories, across all of that history, love has a better record than the disapproval does. Love is more durable. Love, when it is real, outlasts the resistance. Hold on, keep going, not recklessly, not without honoring the complexity, not without continuing to try to build bridges where bridges are possible, not without treating the people on all sides of this with the dignity they deserve. But hold on, don't let the weight of anyone else's fear become the story of what you're allowed to have. And to my parents, if some version of these words ever finds them, I want to say only this: I love you. That has not changed and will not change. And I need you to trust the person you raised. I need you to believe that the values you gave me, the conscience you shaped, the judgment you spent a lifetime helping me develop, I need you to believe that those things are working, that they led me to someone good, that the love I have found is not evidence of failure, but of everything you hoped for me: to be happy, to be whole, to be chosen by someone who sees me clearly and stays anyway. Give her a chance. Give this a chance. Give love the room it needs. I am asking, I am still asking, and I will not stop. If this speech reached something real in you today, if it sat in the place where you've been carrying something quietly, please leave a comment below. Tell me your story. Tell me your story. Tell me how you're navigating it. Tell me what it costs you and what it gives you and what keeps you going. You are not alone in this, and your voice in the comments matters more than you know. Share this with someone who needs to hear that their love is worth fighting for. And hit that subscribe button, because we are building something here, a space for honest conversations about the things that actually matter. I'll be right here next time with more truth to speak. Don't go anywhere.